Good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the 20-minute fashion distraction. I'm Jackie Jenkins. You know what we do every Wednesday night. We talk total fashion. Tonight is no different. I trust everybody had a wonderful week. And I wanted to, and this is actually a quick quiz to see if you all are reading the posts that I'm putting out there for the show. Can anyone drop in the chat what tonight's theme is for our show? Okay, I'm going to give it a minute and see if anyone knows. And actually, while I'm letting people drop in the chat what tonight's theme is, I just want to ask if you are not following me yet on Facebook, please follow me at Sophisticated Curations, and definitely on Instagram at J Curations. And I see we have a drop in from Claudia, but what was the title of the session exactly? You're absolutely right about the topic. And I see my mom's here and she has the topic, but what was the title? You could guess. Okay, I'm going to share. Thank you, Claudia, and my mom and Van. But the title actually was Wellness is the New Sexy. And the reason why I wanted to talk about it that way is because everybody is really caught up with how they're thinking and how they're feeling as we're talking about fashion. And given all that's going on over the past year, we wanted to really stress tonight that wellness is the new sexy. And so to discuss that, I have Roshi Pelaseyed with us. Hi, I'm going to bring Roshi on. And hello from Washington State. Good to see you, Van. Hi, Roshi.
Hello. How are you?
Hello. Good. I gave a quick quiz to the audience to see if they knew our topic, which is wellness is the new sexy, which is so true. And before we get started, I just want to take a minute and share with the audience. And hi, Alin. Thank you for joining our audience about our wonderful guest, Roshi. So Roshi is a certified personal trainer and a group fitness instructor specializing in, and I kind of changed the wording on the bio of this, and I'm saying she specializes in the savvy fashionista, and also the pre and postnatal individuals. She's taught a variety of formats from boot camps and spinning to Pilates and bar. And Roshi has completed over 200 hours of yoga training. So we definitely look forward to hearing more about that. And after her many years of actually being a gym rat, as she would say, she decided that she was really going to take her passion and share it with others, primarily women, as they think about training, although she has trained athletes and also individuals that have struggled with disabilities and limitations. But just on a personal note, I actually know Roshi from working together in Philadelphia, and I don't even know if Roshi remembers this, but we used to talk about fashion in the morning. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, always. We had that one thing in common. Not one thing. We had many things in common, but fashion was our passion.
It was, and I mean, and that was, oh my gosh, we're going about like 10 years. And we were, and this was like before the whole selfie craze. I mean, it was just kind of crazy when I was thinking about it. So it's good. I'm glad that life is coming full circle, and that as we talk about wellness being the new sexy, to have my dear friend that I used to chat in the morning with about fashion. So we're just going to jump right into it because the 20 minutes always goes fast. And I encourage everyone, if you have questions, please drop them in the chat box. But we're going to start off by, what I like to hear is, Roshi, what really drew you to pursue the path of wellness?
I have to admit that wellness has always been part of my life. And the way I used to define wellness was physical activity. I was, from the time I was a toddler, like all toddlers, I was very active, and it kept me through life, through my teens and my 20s and my 30s and so on. So it's always been part of my life. It's definitely has been a lifestyle for me. So I spend a lot of time working on my own wellness or physical fitness, And then I decided about almost 10 years ago that I want to share my experience with other people. And that's how I came to become, a fitness instructor.
That is wonderful. And how would you describe your practice in terms of wellness? I mean, in the intro you shared lifestyle, but how would you describe your actual practice?
Um, Again, I like to be physically active. I really cannot sit for an extended period of time. I used to describe myself when I had an office job as having adult ADD. So, because like before it was fashionable, I used to stand up every 10 minutes and like take a walk, and move all the time. So it's kind of like, and you're probably going to hate me because it's kind of innate. But nowadays I really have to make a conscious decision to make it part of my life, because most of us live in environments that we are car dependent, we are not moving, we're sitting all the time. So I have to think about taking a daily walk, for example. So it's still, even though I enjoy movement and wellness, it is a conscious decision on my part on a daily basis.
Wonderful. So can you talk a little bit about, especially since, most of us have been in and our daily activity of movement has been somewhat impacted, how can we build wellness into our everyday lives?
All right. So the way I define wellness these days, and the way the fitness industry has been looking at it for probably the last decade, is not just physical activity or doing exercises, but it's also your sleep, your recovery, your nutrition, your hydration, the level of your stress. So you need to manage all of them at the same time. All right. So, and again, I'm gonna give you this picture of an elephant. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So every day you can take a small bite of your wellness, maybe 10 minutes of physical activity, 10 minutes that you're conscious about your breathing, making sure that you keep a good sleeping schedule. And also hydration is a big part of our lives. If you're not drinking enough water or water-based things, then you're not really contributing anything to your overall wellness. And then stress, how do you manage stress? I think to a great part, when you bring all of those factors in, you get a better grip of your stress in a way, to some extent.
Wonderful. And actually there's a great question here touching on your yoga piece. And Judith, thank you for this. Is it ever too late to begin a yoga practice?
Oh, absolutely not. So many years ago, I took this class, and my teacher in that class, the yoga teacher, said, "We're all students." And it's very true of any practice, anything in life. We are, lifelong students. So it doesn't matter how old you are, because yoga is not just one thing. Yoga is, like, you don't have to be doing handstands to be a yoga practitioner. There are a lot of different aspects of yoga that you can do. There is chair yoga, for example, that you can be seated on your chair and do a lot of yoga moves. So no, there is no age limit. I am not going to put any age limit for anything you can do in life.
So I guess to follow up on that, if one were interested in starting a yoga practice as part of their mindfulness now, what are some tips that you might say to kind of get that going? How would one get their practice going?
All right. So, okay. So I'm going to ask this question this way. If by yoga you mean more about the breathing part of it, or do you mean the meditation part of it, or do you mean the what we call asana based, the physical aspect of it? So they're all like, because yoga has many layers and aspects. So what about yoga is attracting you? A lot of people come to yoga from that physical activity practice, and they stay with it because of spiritual stuff. So if you are mainly interested in that physical aspect, start sitting cross-legged and see how you feel about that. Start sitting on a block or on a cushion and trying to cross your legs. Close your eyes for a few moments and then just visualize one of the big things that I always bring the attention of my students to is your spine. Kind of visualize your spine from your sacrum to the top of your head. What does it look like? Can you feel the spaces between each and every vertebra? So little practices like that will help. And then, of course, our favorite always is the sun salutation. I can't show it to you now, but the sun salutation is always a good practice.
So actually, there's a question from Jackie on this about how effective are the sun salutations, and what would doing six sun salutations in the morning, would doing six salutations in the morning be enough? And even though you can't do it, can you just describe what a salutation is?
All right, so there are different kinds of sun salutation. You stand tall, and depending on, again, there are different schools of yoga. They do a little things slightly different. You bring your arms up, standing nice and tall, and then you bend forward, hinging from your hips, kind of touching your toes, and then you bring your hands down to the floor. You step into maybe a downward facing dog, which I'd always describe as an inverted V. So your hips are towards the skies, your hands are on the floor, your feet are on the floor. From that, you kind of roll into your plank pose. Everybody knows the plank pose, it's a favorite. And then from that, there are two ways you're gonna lower yourself to the ground. So you can always bring your knees, chest and chin down, or some people are familiar with the name Chaturanga Dandasana, which means like you bend your elbows and slowly lower down. And then you go to either like a baby cobra or a cobra or upward facing dog. So lifting your chest up and pushing your feet down into the floor. And then you go back into your downward facing dog, hips up, inverted V, and walk your feet to your hands and stand up tall. Now, effectiveness, it all depends on what you're trying to achieve. There are in yoga, there are practices that people like do 100 sun salutations a day. Whether that's effective for what, I don't know. But
Okay, okay.
certainly, like, your flexibility will change the more you do this. The attention to your, breath, and just like paying attention to your body will change the way you think about things. So in that term, yes, it's effective. But again, you always want to know why you're doing something.
Absolutely. And Leah, great tips on self care. And Singleton, thank you. Thank you. I mean, the focus really is, even though I was jokingly kind of saying wellness is the new sexy. But at the end of the day, what we really just want to honor is having our best selves and really looking at ways of being mindful to make that happen. Now, a follow up question on the yoga practice, or what are some of the better poses for one to do if they have bad knees or to strengthen their knees?
To strengthen their knees. All right. Bad knees or strengthen their knees. And again,
Well,
bad knees are a lot of different things. So, in general, when people talk about bad knees, and they, complain about aches and pains, they actually need to strengthen the areas around their knees. So the quadriceps, for example, the top of your knees need to be strengthened. That downward facing dog is an extremely good pose for your back, also your inner organs. Again, definitely your knees. I would also suggest some seated practices where you can just like, if it's really hard for you to be standing all the time, you can sit on a chair and like slide kind of forward and maybe extend your legs, one at a time and see how you like that.
So, well, what I'm also hearing you say is that a part of our wellness journey is kind of defining or stating what it is we want to get out of it. And
Exactly.
it's really personalized for our individual selves. And do you have any thoughts on how we may want to assess like how to put together our wellness? Because you mentioned the sleeping, you mentioned the water. Like, should we just basically keeping a journal of what our body is feeling to kind of, I don't know.
If that's your cup of tea, do
Okay,
that. You know
got
what
it.
I mean?
Right.
Because sometimes
I'm a little type A, so I hear you.
some people like journaling very much. They like to write down everything. And, if this gives you that, like maybe 10 minutes a day to
Okay.
yourself and you want to write down everything, go ahead and do that. I am like a bite-sized kind of person, and especially these days, even though we are home, our time is always limited. So if you can like give yourself 10 minutes to do some kind of physical activity. Uh, I would like to see you do more than that, but 10 minutes, 10 minutes every
Okay.
hour. But,
Okay.
so, but in terms of like, water consumption, uh, start with like setting yourself a goal that's achievable. It's always about that. Like if you think, oh, I can drink a glass of water every hour, how many hours are you awake in the day? So make sure you're drinking a glass of water every hour. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
that's a great idea. That's a great idea.
But
I
then
like
if
that
you can't
actually.
one glass of water, if it's half a glass of water, start with
Yeah.
that. And then eventually, you'll make progress and
Yeah.
drink
No,
more.
that's a great idea. I mean, you're right, because on average we're probably up 8 to 12 hours. And so if you're trying to do the 64 ounces, I mean that kind of right. Does that math
It,
work?
yeah, it all depends. It's like
Okay.
now it depends on your body weight, and then some people need more, some people need less. If you are doing more physical activity, you need more. For example, the temperature is cold, you need a different level. Temperature is hot, you need a little different. So, go by. Do you feel thirst? That's
Okay.
always like, be conscious of what you feel about your body.
Okay.
And that's one thing, like if we are talking about mindfulness, kind of like looking inside and feel what you need to feel.
So quick tip, do you have any tips on sleep? Like how much sleep do we need?
All right, they always say 7 to 8 hours, but like everything in life, it's about quality. So these days with our like gadgets, they monitor like your sleep. If you have like a wearable, it can tell you like what's the quality of your sleep. You may be going to bed at 8 o'clock and waking up at 8 o'clock again, but are you really getting the sleep that you need? Is it the calm sleep that's restoring you, or are you waking up every 20 minutes? So what you do during the day definitely affects your sleep, and
Okay.
what you eat. It's nothing is very simple anymore.
Wonderful. No, I appreciate it, Roshi. And just one last tip before you share with everybody how they can find you. Just a quick tip on how to empty out your mind in terms of meditation. And thank you, Jack, for that question.
Emptying out your mind. All right. So if you're a yoga practitioner, one of the hardest poses in yoga, they call the shavasana or the corpse pose, because that's when you kind of like close your eyes and you're supposed to be like meditating. And the challenge is always that your mind wanders. and you
Right.
need to bring your mind back. So it's always like not being afraid of letting your mind go, but being able to bring it back to where you want it to come back. Now, if sometimes I usually bring this to my classes, and for every person it's different. Sometimes it's easier to focus on a visual thing. Like if you like, there's a place in the world that you like to be at, think about it. Or if you like a song, keep hearing it in your head. Maybe that keeps your mind down. Some people like to repeat a mantra, I'm beautiful. So keep saying that, and that, brings you back into that meditative mode. So it can be different things for different people. Just know that you can't, it's always that struggle bringing it in and out.
That is wonderful, Roshi. I so appreciate the tips. Of course, we're at our 20 minutes, but I wanted to make sure where can the audience find you?
All right. So on Facebook and Instagram, I'm at FitPass. So FITPATHS. And then if you want to send me an email, it's Roshi. You can see my name on the screen at fitpass.com. So any of those would work.
Well, wonderful. Well, first of all, to the audience, I know everybody has many of things that you could do or where you could be. So I thank you every week for coming back. Koya, great to see you as well. And I just want to say to my guest, time is one thing that you can never reclaim. So I appreciate the time that you share this evening and the insight. And just really grateful because mindfulness is so, so important. So we're gonna close for the week. Next week, we're actually focusing on another fun topic, profiting. And where I'm going with that is if wellness is the new sexy, the new best way to look in your clothes are actual proper fitting bras. So we're going to talk about that next week. I thank everybody. Roshi, hang on for a minute, and
Thank
everybody
you.
safe and well. Okay, hold on.